All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to keep admitting people as we get started here. I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I know we're all pulling double, triple duty, and I'm sure many of us have another game sometime today, so I don't want to take up too much time, but we really thought it would be good to touch base with everybody, just see if anybody had any questions, see how some things are going for this season, and just kind of do a quick check-in. Up front, housekeeping as always, type your name to the chat just for attendance purposes. And so we know who is able to make it. And keep yourselves on mute unless you want to ask a question, which is totally appropriate. And then if you don't have a microphone on your computer or otherwise unable to verbally ask a question, go ahead, type it in the chat. I'll do my best to kind of monitor things while we're there. So Jim and I were kind of talking about what we wanted to kind of touch base on. And we kind of wanted to just see how some things were going in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, what everybody's doing. And we also just wanted to open it up for kind of any questions that you've had as far as whether it's mechanics, processes, maybe you had a strange situation that you popped up. But I want to help start that conversation hold on, let me get a few more people in here. I wanted to help start that conversation with, I want to try to poll people here. And so I'm going to try to launch a poll with Zoom. I've been part of meetings where somebody else has done it. I've just never done it myself. So let me know how things go on your end. So I'm going to launch a poll right now. And there's 2 questions. One, have you been part of a game where a player has been removed for not wearing their mask correctly? Yes or no? And then have you yourself removed a player for not wearing their masks correctly? Now, I'm not sure what you can see here. I can see the poll results coming in. About half have answered the question so far. And then I hope that when I end polling, all of you will be able to see the cumulative results. But 24 of 27 have answered it. And I'll just wait just maybe 1 or 2 more, because I don't know if I'm one of those people who haven't answered it or not. But all right, we're sitting at 92%, which is in anybody's classroom, that's an A. So, all right, I'm going to end the polling. Share results. All right. Can somebody just give me a thumbs up if you can see those results? All right, awesome. So have you been part of a game where a player has been removed for not wearing their mask correctly? 76%, only about a quarter have been part of a game where where somebody's been asked to leave because they've been told to leave because they have been wearing their mask correctly. And even less have removed a player themselves for not wearing a mask correctly. Jim, do you want to share maybe a couple of experiences you've had, or kind of like how this process goes? And just for a quick reminder for everybody, we can, and I'm going to share my screen here real quick just to kind of help everybody here is I'm going to drop those polls now. That again, penalty here. Let me try zoom in. Brent in the MHSAA in the most recent bulletin really wanted to remind players, warn players, and you can remove players as a guide, for not properly wearing a mask, just like we sometimes have to do if they're not properly equipped, tucking in their shirt or otherwise. And so, Jim, you want to just kind of talk about a little bit your experiences that you've had? Uh-oh. And actually, let me stop sharing my screen. Hello. There we are. Stop share. There we are. Oh, Jim, you're muted, bud.
Oops. I guess people didn't hear some of that. So, everyone sees players with their masks below their nose. I'm sure every person who's officiated a game has seen that. And that's not acceptable. You know, um, the reality is they say, well, it slipped. Well, you know what? I mean, I've refed, I don't know, 30 some games this year. My mask has never slipped. It just, if you're wearing them properly, they don't. So reminding them, which is the first step, is pretty easy. And a good time is when you're lined up for free throws, because you're going to have usually anywhere from 4 to 7 players right there, and you just say, "Hey, let's go, mask up, everyone," and they'll comply. And if they don't, and you wait until they do, and if they don't, hey, 32, help me with your mask, please. Just simple statements like that. Can you help me out with your mask? Usually they'll get them up. Now, will they come down again? Yeah. And you remind them again. Now, when you get the person who wears the chin strap mask, it doesn't cover their nose or their mouth at all.
The chin diaper.
Yeah. The chin diaper, or whatever you want to call it. Just tell them, that's the time where you have to address them personally and maybe a little harsher. Come on, 32. It's a mask, not a chin strap. Um, if you get to the warn stage, usually what I'll do, because the warning a player often doesn't do much good. I'll just tell the coach, I'll say, hey, coach, 32 is looking to be benched for not wearing his mask. Can you help me out? And they'll do it. I have sent this year, I think, 4 players to the bench for not wearing a mask properly. And it's where they're just outright defiant about it. Where they just give you the blank stare, like hell no, I'm not doing it. Then you just send them out. Just an example, I had a girl on West Bloomfield High. I told her to pull. She had the chin strap. I told her to pull her mask up. She pulled it up so it was still below the nose. I said, "Come on, it's got to be above the nose." She looked at me and rolled her eyes. So I just, all right, number 4, go to the bench, coach. We need a sub. Number 4 doesn't want to wear her mask properly. And no questions asked, they replace them.
Yeah.
And if you do that in the first quarter, your problem is solved. It's not that hard. And looking at our poll results, I'm going to say, tell you that if only 24% have been in a game where, someone's been sent to the bench for not wearing the mask, then 76% of us are not doing their job. Because I know, unless you're working in the Rochester schools where actually the ADs do their job and address the teams before the game and tell them, you will be not only, out of the game, but you'll be out of the building if you don't wear your mask properly. Then, you're probably not doing your job, and it creates a safety risk for everyone. So, let's ramp up the mask enforcement, and you don't have to be a jerk about it. Just ask them.
Matter of fact.
Only if the kids are being a jerk about it that you have to send someone out of the game.
Yeah, and Jim, I think you made a really great point about if you do find somebody where you've reminded them, you've warned them and or the coach, coach 32 is not doing it properly, help us out, etc., something along those lines, that if you do have to remove somebody and you remove them early in the first quarter, believe me, if there's that person that's just going to be defiant, they're going to be defiant at the very beginning of the game, and you take care of it then, guess what? mask compliance is not a problem after that for the whole rest of the game. And again, we've never been, I've never experienced a situation where a coach or anyone refuses to get us up for that player. I mean, Jim, like you said, it's pretty much they get it, right?
Yeah, I mean they appreciate that. In some ways, we're fortunate that we're able to have high school basketball, and they don't want to risk, the season being shut down by the state government again. So, and you look and see how many teams are in quarantine right now. Um, you can understand that it's, the virus is still spreading out there. So, um, you know, it's still a possibility that could get shut down.
Yeah. So I want to, does anybody, first of all, does anybody have any questions about mask enforcement, about the importance of it? Maybe you experienced some difficulties or some defiance from coaches, ADs, or, just kind of want to see if anybody has any kind of questions about that. It is something that we really do need to kind of stay up on top of. Go ahead, type a question into the comments section if you have that. And as a quick reminder, while you're thinking about any questions you might have, this meeting is being recorded. So just a reminder to everybody. So if you want to keep your cameras on, that's fine. If you want to turn your cameras off, that's fine too. All right. Well, I'm going to ask one more. I'm going to try one more poll here. I'm going to see if this works here. Go to second question. All right. Now, again, one of the COVID-19 issues was if you go into overtime, you got to flip a coin. And I think the question is, have you had to flip a coin? And, if you had to flip a coin, I was just kind of wanted to hear about how it went because while you all are talking about it, I'll tell you, I had one overtime where I was the referee where I had to flip a coin. And I told the coaches, I got a coin here. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to catch it, put it on the back of my hand. And I flipped it and I barely caught it. And I probably looked like the goofiest person trying to do this. And then I saw somebody else on a film. They were doing it and they flipped it and they flipped and they let it hit the ground. And it worked out. The coin didn't roll away. So about 26 of 30 of us have answered this poll. So at this point, I'm going to end the polling. I'm going to share the results. And it looks like a majority of us have had the pleasure of flipping a coin. So again, did anybody and don't be afraid to, if you have to share something like maybe you decided to flip a coin, let it hit the ground. Did it work out? Did it roll away? For those of us who haven't had an opportunity, I mean, you kind of want to have those situations like they seem small, but you want to have them go smoothly. Anybody have any comments or anything to share about that as far as best practices?
Shane,
Yep, Darwin.
I'll jump in at like those days. You need to practice. That was something that I know any volleyball official knew. You were going to flip a coin in every match. Therefore, practice flipping the coin. This would be the same situation.
Yep, that's a good point. Nothing beats doing it when no one's watching and then getting comfortable with it. All right. Jim, is there anything that you kind of, as far as like the theme of the year, or any other trends that you've seen lately, as far as again, masks? I've seen a variety of masks that players and coaches have been wearing. I've seen gaiters. I've seen those masks, and they're becoming a little more prominent at the college stage, and I think it's starting to bleed into some of the high school games where it looks very, very. It doesn't look like it's tightly woven, and I don't know if anybody else has experienced that, but I mean, Jim, can you talk about a little bit about what is the minimal requirement for masks?
Yeah, I guess I'll say this: if you can see through their mask, it probably isn't good enough. I had one player on Ferndale. It looked like it was made out of screen door material. I mean, you could just blow right through it, and I didn't realize it till sometime late in the game. And at that point, I just said, "Look, yeah, you got to get a new mask for your next game." I didn't take him out that game because there were only a few minutes left, but I think this guy came off the bench late. But just if you see a see-through mask, it's then it's not really doing anyone any good. So you could address that. But I haven't, like I say, I've only seen one of those this year. So.
And gaiters, assuming it's of some kind of tightly woven cloth material, gaiters are allowable, correct?
Yeah, gaiters are fine.
Yep. So I see a comment or a question. A coach asked about could teams come to the half court line and wave at the other team following the game? And the question was, is this allowed? Because some teams do want to exhibit, good sportsmanship and display that in other ways other than, the handshake line. And I understand this sentiment, and I applaud that sentiment. And I guess the question is where does our jurisdiction end, and is that a kind of conversation that we as officials kind of want to get involved in adjudicating if it's after the game? 6 feet apart, not mixing, mingling. In the chat, somebody said that they did not allow it because of the 6 feet rule. I get that. On the flip side, they've been playing basketball against each other the whole time. And I suppose if they were to stand across from each other far enough away, 6 feet, it could be not a big deal. But I don't know if that's a conversation we as officials need to get involved in. That's probably more of a school administration aspect at that point, because we're probably running off the court at that time. Jim, you got some thoughts?
Yeah, the post-game handshakes are not our problem. If someone asked me that, I would just say, if you keep your distance, I'm sure it's okay. But I'm not sticking around. When that game ends, I'm heading to the locker room or to where my bag is, and changing my shoes and leaving. That's really for the game administrator to deal with.
That's a good question, though, because I have never been approached with that question. So that's helpful to think about ahead of time. Anybody else had any other kind of COVID unusual situations that, haven't come up? Kind of want to ask, how has anybody had any strange situations with the alternating possession arrow? Is everybody, on the same page with how to do that now? As a quick reminder, visiting team gets the ball to start the game. The home team gets the ball to start the second half, no matter what. And then if you do have to go into overtime, you flip a coin. Visiting team calls the coin toss. And then whoever wins the coin toss gets the ball to start the first overtime. And if you go to the second overtime, no matter what, the other team gets the ball to start the second overtime. So you're only ever going to do one coin flip in a game. For somebody like me, thank God, that's a good thing. Does anybody have any questions related to that? Is that clear? I know there was some back and forth confusion before the season started, but are we all good on that? Okay. All right. I do want to just open it up. And again, these don't have to be long meetings. We just really want to touch base and see how everybody's doing. Does anybody have any just general questions as far as COVID-19, any kind of strange situations or anything interesting that happened?
Shane, I'd just like to talk about a play I've seen a lot more that we should be alert to. If we have a baseline throw-in, at Team A's basket, and I started seeing this, a few years ago, and this year it seems like I see it every game. The Team A player who's on the low block, inbounds, waiting for the throw-in. He'll have a defender, guarding him between him and the basket or her and the basket. And that Team A player will basically drive the defender under the basket and even out of bounds to clear out space for a Team A cutter to take the throw in and have an uncontested layup. And I guess I want everyone, particularly the person administering the throw in, should be alert for that, because if they displace their defender, then you have a team control foul against Team A, and it needs to be called, because invariably if they do that and get away with that, it's an easy basket. And it's just a play that is, I think, is increasingly being used by teams because they're getting away with it. And it's caught me asleep too, and I've let it happen. And only afterwards I said, "Oh crap, I should have blown the whistle." So just something to be alert for when you're administering a throw-in, for the offensive team under their own basket.
And it's important not to get caught off guard. And what you can do to help yourself there, if you're the administering official as the lead, handing that ball to that thrower, is hand the ball to that thrower and don't stand right next to that thrower, because you're going to have a narrow line of sight. Hand that ball to that thrower and then take one or two or more steps back so you can get a nice wide angle of vision so you can see everything happening. And then trail and center, be aware of that play too, and help out as well to catch those. So we had a question come in. What is the procedure if you ref a game alone or do varsity two-man? Does the athletic director automatically give you extra pay? Does a signer have to approve? That is a good question, and I've seen it done in many ways. Now, the fair school districts, what they will do is they for example, if you're doing a sub-varsity game by yourself, they will just automatically give you another, the additional payment or check. And then, for example, at the varsity level, the schools, would split it. If it's like you're doing two-person, normally you're doing three. That's what's supposed to happen. A lot of schools, you might have to have a conversation with them about it, and or perhaps having a signer help out. But that is the understanding what should be happening. Jim, you got anything on that?
There's no formal MHSA policy on that.
Right.
The custom traditionally was if you worked alone, or if you worked a two-man instead of a three-man. If you worked alone, you'd get double pay. If you worked two-man instead of three-man, they'd split the third person's pay between the two of you. That was the custom, but it varies. It depends on the athletic director, and the assigners really don't have much to do with it.
Real quick, I talked about noticing a comment talking about noticing boys teams have a little worse adherence to the mask policy, and sometimes coaches don't support the officials as much as they should. I haven't noticed that as much. Maybe they're not as active as the officials in enforcing that mask policy. but when we address it, I've never seen, at least from my experiences, I've never seen a coach not, be supportive. In fact, I think most coaches are, to be perfectly frank, sometimes happy to let us be the bad guy, where maybe they've been trying to get their players to wear their mask properly all year, and the players have just stopped listening to the coach. And I think for an official to come in and enforce it as well, they're like, oh, good. Because whenever I've brought it up in a pregame with the two coaches, I said, we're going to ask them to pull their mask up. We're going to remind them. If they are, belligerent or defiant about it, we will ask them to leave. And I've had almost every coach to a T say good. I've never had any coach not be happy about that. So that's been my own individual experience.
Hey, Shane.
Yeah.
Has there been, or has anybody else noticed? I noticed like on the benches, due to separation, a lot of times the seats are, way up against the table. And I don't know if that thinks coaches are then allowed to be on the floor, because I've been getting a lot more warnings this year for coaches coming 3-4 feet on the floor all the way up to the division line. I mean, I've been more lenient with kind of the bench area due to separation, but was there anything ever like officially put out about that, about as far as like the 28-foot line, or is anybody else seeing that or having issues with coaches, kind of coming all the way up to and past the division line during games?
Well, I'm smiling right now, and I know Jim is too, because I think everyone knows there's a few coaches here or there that are particularly they're wanderers. However, with that said, the coaching box is the coaching box, and that rule hasn't changed. That rule hasn't been loosened. We are to, as far as I know, as far as I've heard, adjudicate that as we always have. And the 6 feet social distancing, that is appropriate. However, most schools that I've noticed, they have enough room to go backwards and or down the road. Jim, down the sideline. Jim, what have you seen? Or
Yeah, I think one reason, you probably are seeing coaches wander a little more because with a mask on, their voice doesn't carry, or they think their voice doesn't carry. So they, are trying to get a little closer to their players maybe. You just remind them, get back in. As long as they're coaching, you can give them a little leeway. And even if they pull their mask down to shout out instructions, I'm not going to, get in the way of that or address that even, if they do that. Now, if they get in front of the table, now you've got to remind them, say, hey, your coaching box ends here at the 28-foot line. I had a scorer at
West Bloomfield.
Blow the horn and call me over. This coach is getting in front of the, I can't see. Well, that's one reason why you don't want them in front of a table, because the scorer and timer have to be able to see, who scores the points and see our signals, who the foul's on. So, definitely keep coaches away from the table.
Good question. Anything else, any other kind of unusual, any other kind of trends that anybody has seen that they kind of want to ask about or bring up? Again, this is an opportunity to touch base, kind of compare notes. And if you don't want to come on mute, feel free to type it in. While we're doing that,
Maybe you could
go ahead, Darwin.
I've had a few comments still of the fashion police. Can maybe you and Jim, from a leadership position, the fashion police thing that I don't want to be. I just know it's a problem. If we all just forgot about being fashion police and did what the rules hit, we wouldn't have a problem. Just, if you would, from your guys' perspective, address that.
So what I've noticed this year is there's been a lot of focus on masks, and I feel like maybe as far as exhaustion goes. You have to deal so much with proper mask wearing this year that I almost feel like as a group, we've just kind of let everything else slide a little bit. And while I understand that, we do have to get them to tuck in their jerseys still. We do have to make sure that the shirts are the same color as, the jersey, the predominant color of the jersey, and make sure everybody has all on the same colored headbands and so forth. That is something that, as good practice, don't get out of habit with that. Masks are important, but it's a kind of a package deal. Work on the mask, work on the other proper equipment. And while I certainly understand that is not everyone's favorite part of the job, it is part of the job. Jim, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean the stuff like mismatching headbands or illegal colored headbands, wristbands, tights. You address that before the game and warm-ups, where you're not having to worry so much about masks,
Yep.
and they'll deal with it. The shirts being untucked, yeah, that in light of masks, that gets to be a pain in the rear, but just take care of it when there's a stoppage in play, and just asking, hey, 20, help me with your shirt, and they'll do it.
So we got a couple of comments and questions. Real quick one here is a comment about perhaps more sloppy play than usual this year. And that could be for any number of reasons, just not as enough practice. A lot of teams are doing 3 nights a week. And I know, for example, I've had games where I know it was their second game in a row as far as days go. They just get tired. They say they don't get tired, but these kids can get tired. And so I think it's part of that too. So just be on the ready for those kinds of sloppy, tired plays that can occur when teams get tired or they just kind of don't care anymore. And then there's a question about districts. How are districts going to look? And that is on the MHSAA website. But from my recollection, and Jim, correct me if I'm wrong, boys and girls districts in the playoffs, instead of the usual weekly staggered season where either boys go first and then girls go first and they're offset by a week, it's all going to be going on at the same time.
Yeah, girls are going to play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, boys Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Yep. So, if you're someone who works 3 nights a week in the districts, you could have 6 games. I mean, Monday through Saturday assigned to you. So, be ready for that. So they asked if you could be working 2 games in a day. I'm sure the MHSAA does not want that to happen. But it's possible, particularly on the Wednesday of girls and Thursday of boys, where you have 2 games a night everywhere. Those are the nights, Wednesday, Thursday, where there'll be 2 district semifinals for first girls, then boys. There might be some situations where the MHA has to ask a few officials to work 2 games on those days. I'm sure they don't want that to happen, but if there, 30% of officials aren't working. So, well, actually, that might be less now. I know some people who've gotten their vaccination have come back and started working again. But there are significantly fewer officials working. So there might be a numbers crunch. And I'd suggest, too, that there might even be officials who are technically not eligible under the MHSA's, qualifications for working the tournament, who might be asked to work. Maybe you only have 14 or 15 ratings because you've only worked varsity for 1 year. Normally you would not be eligible for the tournament, but they might you might be able to get assignments. I know in football that happened.
Yeah. So be ready. So be ready for that week. While I wait to see if there's any other questions, I want to share my screen again real briefly. And I just want to hype up a little bit about RefQuest Plus. And this is a service that the MHSAA has that's run by a third party. And I'll show you what it can do is that they can present a video call, and then you can give an option like, was it the correct call? Was it not a correct call? And then afterwards, you can see like the summary. For example, here, you won't see the video too well streaming through streaming, but what it would do is, does this ball handler lift pivot foot before starting her dribble? And then back up your answer with the rule support. And then this one's already been voted on, but you can watch it, you can replay it, and then kind of give your comments and answer. And then Brent will send out a summary, and you can see how everybody else voted. 311 people voted for this one, thought it was a travel. About a third thought it was a legal dribble. And then they offer some commentary on, what is, in the MHSAA's opinion, the correct call and why they have that opinion. And so it's a really nice service that the MHSAA has. Now, if you are a registered MHSAA official, you can have access to this. Now, I know, and you want to email, I'm going to type it into the chat here. You want to email Bo Borowski.
I'm Bo Borowski, who you probably saw officiating the Michigan State game this week, but his last name first.
Yep. And so you're supposed to email that person. And what they do is they email you, send you an email to like activate the link, and you got to activate it within like 24 or 48 hours or something along those lines. Now, if you email them and you don't get a response, and you are an MHSAA registered official, and just say, hey, I'm an MHSAA registered official. This is my name. This is my email address. I'd love to get access to the RefQuest for basketball games. Brent is still sending those videos out. And you don't get a response, you can let me know. You can let Jim know. You could email Brent too, but we should, the MHS.
Well, let Shane know, because I haven't got a response yet myself. So
right, but yeah. we do want to help Brent get in touch with Bo. Say, hey, Bo, can you respond to some of the MHSAA membership? But again, it's a really kind of a neat service to look and see how those are going on. As well as, I'll share my screen one more time here. And if you go to facebook.com, if you have a Facebook access to it, and you type in Michigan Basketball Officials Network, it's a MHSAA approved basketball officials Facebook page where they post plays of the day, and you can see how other people voted on what they thought was or wasn't a correct play. They share some videos, and some people ask about other questions. But if you just go to Facebook and you type in Michigan Basketball Officials Network, it'll pop right up, and you can ask to join the group, and then you'll get notifications of when new things open up. So again, those are just some more ways to kind of stay connected. And as a reminder, we as an association on YouTube have our own webpage or our own YouTube page, and we're posting these meeting videos on there, as well as some other play videos. I'm kind of putting some things together for some videos here and there, and just kind of trying some mechanics out. So we as an association also have a NFHS network account. You might have one too. It costs $10 a month, and you can go to this website where all of the various many high school games get uploaded on the video, and you can see videos. And so if you have a particular play in a particular game, and you know kind of about when it happened, I would love it if you share that with me. I think everyone has my email address or the association, and even if you don't want it to like end up on YouTube, I totally understand. But maybe you just want an opinion, like, hey, did we do this correctly, or this was a real interesting play. Let us know about that, because again, even if we don't share the video itself, we can share it with that situation with the association. So if you let me know the game, and who they were going against, and about the time that the play happened, and it can shoot me a text, shoot me an email. We'll take a look at it, and we'll see what it is, because again, it's a lot better to talk about the situation that somebody else experienced, so you can be prepared if and when it happens in your game. Right. With that said, again, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Does anybody have any other questions? Go ahead, type them in the chat, come off mute. Jim, do you have any kind of closing thoughts?
The season's so short, but if we sort of prorate the season, this is a time of year where players start taking out their frustration on each other, because the bad teams know they're bad now, and they don't give a crap anymore. So you have to be on high alert for hard fouls, and action after the whistle. Watch out for now's the time that the senior football player who's never going to play basketball again in his life decides he's going to play football on the court. So just be on high alert for the next 2 weeks.
Okay. Well, I just want to pause just for one last minute. Anybody else have any other questions or comments or anything? Okay. With that said, I'll let everybody go, and I'm sure most of you have a game today, and if you don't, good. Have a rest day. We all deserve a rest day every now and then. And again, we got 30 people on here this morning. I love it. I love everybody's engagement, and don't forget to take care of yourself for the rest of the season. That's a genuine statement. So finish strong, and if you have any questions or follow-ups, shoot Jim or me an email, and we'll help you as best we can. All right.
Nice job, Shane. Very nice job.
Thanks, Jeff. Everyone have a good one.
Yeah, and hey, it is imperative for the mask, because the papers make everybody look bad. You see pictures in the paper where the masks are being pulled down or whatever. So like Jim says, it's imperative that we enforce that mask policy.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, we don't want to have this season end early. All right. Have a good one,
All right.
everybody.
Take care.